I think we can all agree that a recession is coming. When some people are telling us, don't worry about a recession, there is no risk of a recession, the true answer is yes, there is a risk. We have already dipped into a recession. Remember, outside of the last quarter, the previous 2 quarters, we were seeing negative GDP. And the previous definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. Now, why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about a recession now? Because we haven't talked about a recession in a couple months. Well, the reason is because it's now more evident that it is going to happen. Some say it could happen as early as the first quarter of 2023. Others say it will be the majority of 2023. And a couple say that no, it will not happen until 2024. But I want to talk and I want to explain what 12 very highly successful people are saying. And these are, many of these people are billionaires. Okay? So I want to read you this article right here. Now, we're not going to read the entire article, but this one is from Market Insider. And it says Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Ken Griffin are sounding the alarm on a U.S. recession. Here are 12 dire economic warnings from elite commentators. Now, why are we going to talk and address these people? Well, some of these people include Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Ken Griffin, there's Carl Icahn, Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP Morgan, and then we even got Charlie Munger. He is Warren Buffett's right-hand man. If you don't know who Warren Buffett is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He's worth $110 billion. He's the 5th richest person in the world at this time. And then, of course, we got Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who are even more successful and have more money than Warren Buffett. But the reason why I bring this up is because right now, okay, just to give you an idea, Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, they have $110 billion in cash and short-term holdings. And the reason why is because they are expecting a recession. Now, let's get into what some of these very successful people are saying, and I want to give you my take on what they're saying as well. So, right here we got Jeff Bezos. He says that the economy does not look great right now. Things are slowing down. You're seeing layoffs in many sectors. The probabilities say if we're not in recession right now, which I think we are, we're likely to be in one very soon. Take as much risk off the table as you can. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Now, when he says, take as much risk off the table as you can, I've been saying this for a while. And I even tell you, hey, if you want to invest in the stock market, don't use your money. Use the link down in the description box below, and you can get up to 12 free stocks over on Webull. And all you got to do is deposit a little bit amount of money, like $5. Remember when I told you guys that last week and told you guys that 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago? Yeah, it's because I'm serious. Don't go and put in $50,000 of your money that you may need. Don't do that. Now, again, this isn't financial advice. I'm just trying to tell you exactly what he's telling you. Just take as much risk off the table. If you cannot survive off of losing all the money that you invest, don't invest. Okay, simple advice. Do not invest. All right? So that's just coming from Jeff Bezos. Then you got Elon Musk. Here's what he says. He says there's going to be probably a year or two of serious recession. Frankly, the economic picture ahead is dire, especially for a company like ours that is so dependent on advertising in a challenging economic climate. Now, you probably could care less about advertising. However, most people, most businesses, they care about advertising. They need to know that their advertising dollars are going as far as they possibly can. Well, for Tesla, it's going to be very tough. However, guess what they got now? They got Twitter. Yeah. So their advertising is going to be a little bit easier because they now have Twitter. Then let's talk about Ken Griffin. He's the CEO of Citadel. He says, for the Fed to truly conquer inflation here, we're going to put unemployment somewhere in the mid 4% range. I find it hard to believe we're not going to have a recession at that point in time, sometime in the middle to back half of 2023. Remember what I said before. I expect things are going to get the worst probably the second quarter of 2023. He says the middle to back half of 2023. Should you listen to Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, or should you listen to me? Well, you should probably listen to the CEO of Citadel, right? Again, this guy's a billionaire, right? He's very, very successful. I think he's worth like 30 plus $1 billion. So again, he might be a good guy to listen to. And then we got Charlie Munger. Again, he's the right-hand man to Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. He has this to say. I think the Fed is willing to have a little recession in order to not have out of control inflation. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be the one guy at the party that doesn't hang around the punch bowl getting drunk. And that's exactly right. The Federal Reserve doesn't care if your home's value goes from $500,000 to $250,000. They could care less. They don't care if your stock market portfolio goes from $500,000 or let's say $100,000 to $25,000. They could care less. That's not their job. Their job is to control the market. Their job is to control inflation. That's what their job is. Not to make sure everybody's getting rich. Or in Charlie Munger's point of view, he says getting drunk at the punch bowl. That's pretty much what happened over the past couple of years. Now, let's talk about what Jamie Dimon says from JP Morgan. This is what he has to say. He says there's a possibility of a mild recession. Consumers are in very good shape. Companies are in very good shape. And there's a possibility of something worse, mostly because of the war in Ukraine and oil price and all things like that. Okay, let's touch on that. There's a possibility of a mild recession. Well, he's come out and talked about, no, there will be a recession. He's saying that consumers are in very good shape. Some consumers are. And be very cautious when somebody tells you that consumers have money. Some consumers have money. But when you look at the average, what consumers actually have, it looks like we all have like $5,000. But I can tell you most people don't. Most consumers are not averaging about $5,000 that they're willing to spend. Why? Because they don't have it. This is where the rich, the wealthy, obviously make this number. You can't really believe it, right? So that's one of the things you got to understand with that. Now, let's talk about what David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, has to say. And again, Goldman Sachs, you really should listen to what they have to say. But he says, generally, when you find yourself in an economic scenario like this, where inflation is embedded, it's very hard to get out of it without a real economic slowdown. The U.S. is most likely going to have a recession. Now, he's the last one I really want to talk about right now, because he says when you find yourself in an economic scenario like this, where inflation is embedded. Well, what does this mean? Inflation is embedded in things like, food, utilities, gas, right? And when we see inflation with gas and oil, guess what else happens? Food prices go up, construction materials go up, retail goes up, shipping, all transport goes up, right? You want to build your house, it's going to cost more money. You want to heat your home, it's going to cost more money, right? It doesn't matter. You want to go travel somewhere, guess what? It costs more money. You want to go on an airplane? Yeah, it costs more money. You want to stay in a hotel? Yeah, it's going to cost more money. Everything will cost more money. And this is part of the problem. Inflation is embedded. That is a worry. And this is a worry that the Federal Reserve has. If inflation becomes entrenched, that is the huge, huge red flag. And at that point, the Federal Reserve will probably stop playing games. They'll stop doing this, 75 basis point rate hike, 50 basis point rate hike, whatever it's going to be. And they're going to do something, what a lot of people call the rug pull, where they just jack up rates to some insane amount. And it's something that most businesses will not be able to withstand. But the ones that do, they'll start to lay off employees. They will cut back on spending, and that will stick us in an instant recession. That is the problem, is that right now we have no idea what the Federal Reserve is going to do. But again, if it's all having to do with inflation, what do we see with inflation? Well, we won't have the next CPI report until, I believe, December 13th. This is the day that the Federal Reserve will have an FOMC meeting in December. Now, the next day, December 14th, is when the FOMC meeting will conclude, and we will hear from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, and he will let us know what they discussed and what the outlook is going to be. But again, that's what's very concerning is, well, that's in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So we're going to see what happens there. But as of right now, it's very concerning what all these experts are telling us, these CEOs, these billionaires. They're telling us to, prepare for a recession because it's coming.